Well, South Africans are waiting to see what the president will say about the state of the country in his speech on Thursday. It's a time for him to reflect, but also lay out plans for the year ahead. Promises are often made, but are they actually kept? And what should the president focus on this year? Let's unpack this with political analyst Prince Mashele. Prince, thanks for your time. Always a pleasure talking to you. So let's start with the state of our country, because many would argue we're not going to get the real picture on Thursday. Be frank about it. What do you think?
Look, if the president were to be honest, he was supposed to tell South Africans what they already know, which is that, one, South Africa is facing the worst national crisis since 1994, characterized by a few things. Number one, the vulnerability of our state security has been exposed badly. We have seen it from last year in July. We have also seen it beginning of this year with the burning of Parliament. The fact that this State of the Nation address is going to be delivered from a town hall, not from Parliament, tells you everything you want to know about the extent of our national security crisis. Number two, the economic crisis facing South Africa is the worst. As we speak, very few South Africans hope that they are going to find jobs this year, because statistics after statistics tell us that the economy is collapsing. Number four, the state of our politics is in shambles. When South Africans imagine the country and they look for leadership, it is very hard to point at a sector of our political system that is intact. You have ministers insulting the judiciary. You have the president exchanging open letters with his own ministers in cabinet. So what the president was supposed to say was that the country is in a serious crisis. Only if he says that can he then convince South Africans that there are certain things that he will do to fix the crisis. But if he does not acknowledge the depth of our crisis, South Africans will not believe him.
You know, looking at the vulnerability of state security, obviously the panel report that was released yesterday on the July unrest really blames cabinet as a whole, not just the police minister and national police commissioner. It talks about the Security Council that failed to meet regularly, a Security Council that the president actually chairs. So this entire failing, Prince, should the president take responsibility for it?
Certainly. The president is client number one of the intelligence in South Africa. So all the intelligence forces report to the president. So in other words, he is the one who knows everything about our national security more than you and I or anybody else in government knows. So the fact that he was briefed about things in the security sector, and we have seen the collapse, the lapses that we have seen, means that he must take personal responsibility. I mean, it is an indictment that a panel appointed by the president points a finger at himself, but it also points a finger at the governing party, because it says that the political factional fightings in the ANC got to an extent where they became actually a national security threat. So the president has to take responsibility, because he leads these two important entities. One, the governing party, the ANC, which is in shambles. Two, the state, which itself is in shambles.
Yeah. You know, just Sally and I were talking about the coincidental attacks on landmark venues in this country. And obviously it talks to state security, which has now been, by the way, taken to the presidency. That department is now dissolved, basically. We're just seeing a fire as well, Transnet's reporting, which broke out in a coach of a blue train early this morning. It was in for repairs at a facility, an engineering facility. It talks to you about our intelligence and state security as a whole, doesn't it? How concerned should we be about that, and how much focus should the president put into this specific thing?
We should be very concerned, Shahan. South Africa, as we speak, is so exposed when it comes to national security, and we have seen it. Here is the problem, Shahan. We have a president who is incompetent. You know, and I've been saying these things, people don't believe me. Let me give you practical examples. When he constituted this cabinet, Who was his first Minister of Intelligence? It was Ayanda Dlodlo, someone who is known to be very close to Jacob Zuma. If you take over the state and you think you want to repair the damage caused by the corrupt regime of Jacob Zuma, how can you appoint someone who's close to Jacob Zuma as Minister of Intelligence? That's one. Number two, when we witnessed the July unrest, what did the president do? He appointed Zizi Kodwa to be the head of security and placed him in his office in the presidency. Any South African who knows anything about national security knows that Zizi Kodwa knows absolutely nothing about security. Now he has fired Zizi Kodwa. He has replaced him with Mondli Ngubela to take charge of national security. What does poor Mondli Ngubela know about national security? So all of what I'm telling you tells you that we have an incompetent president who himself does not understand statecraft, which is why he appoints incompetent ministers to take charge of a very critical aspect of our governance, which is national security.
And then, of course, the economy. We have some economists asking for a detailed plan on economic recovery in the State of the Nation address. We don't get details in the State of the Nation address. We know that's not going to happen. But we've been hearing about red tape for foreign companies in this country that the president said must be addressed for years now. But we're still talking about it. What must he do for us to get this right?
Look, if we continue to ask such questions, that what must he do, without looking at his record, we will be chasing our own tails. Here's the thing, Shahan.
So you've given up?
Two critical. No, I have given up on Cyril Ramaphosa. He's incompetent. Let me give you an example, because you see, I don't want people to accuse me of saying I just hate him. No, I don't hate him. I haven't met him, by the way. Think of two critical state-owned enterprises which actually are the backbone of our economy. Eskom. When he took over as president of South Africa, he promised us that he was going to break up Eskom into 3 companies. It's now 4 years since he made such a promise. Did he break up Eskom? No. We have load shedding as we speak. Number 2, Transnet. You cannot mine and transport anything from our mines to the coast, to the coastal areas of our country without fixing Transnet. Criminals have stolen cables. Our railway lines no longer have power lines. What has Ramaphosa done to fix these 2 critical companies? Nothing. You can talk about investment, you can have as many investment conferences that you like. But if you have an Eskom that is broken and you have a Transnet that is unrepaired, let me tell you, forget about all the policies. So yes, I have given up because we have an incompetent president.
Last question, just how important do you think the SONA is for Ramaphosa going into the ANC's elective conference?
It's very important because he needs to project that he is still in charge. But the problem is that the ANC fellows know that he is actually not in charge, which is why they are launching a revolt right from within his cabinet.
Sorry,
if you have a minister...
Who's in charge then?
Well, we are on autopiloting. Here's the thing. If Cyril Ramaphosa was in charge, as we speak, Lindwe Sisulu was supposed to be outside cabinet. How can you have a minister who insults the judiciary and who tells you that you are a liar as a president and you don't fire such a person? A president who does that is not in charge. Cyril Ramaphosa is not in charge of South Africa, which is why his own ministers are undermining him. So we are on autopiloting, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure talking to you. Political analyst Prince Mashele.